Welcome to Behind the Lash Chair. I'm your host, Alexis Weisenburger, founder and owner of AW Lashes. My goal is to help you as a lash artist grow with tips and tricks on lashing, becoming an entrepreneur, marketing, and so much more. This is an amazing place to find free resources and connect with lash artists all around the world. Let's get started.
Hi, everyone. So excited to be with all of you today. We have Lane from Oh So Boho on with us today. She is a lash artist, has been lashing for the last couple of years, opened up her space about a year ago. And so we are going to be talking about lashes and tips and tricks and getting started and branding and identity and just all the things. And we are so excited to have you, Lane.
I'm so excited to be here. Thank you guys for inviting me on.
And a little funny side note for everyone listening, we actually really did record this podcast a week ago, and then due to technical errors, we are getting to re-record it. So hopefully this time it will be even better, and the end result will be something really great for everybody. So let's just jump in. Lane, tell us a little bit about yourself, where you went to school, what got you into lashing, and then even how you started your business.
So I went to school in Fort Collins. Luckily for me, started right in the middle of COVID. It was great. It was amazing. And I kind of just started on a whim. I saw a friend going to aesthetics school and I was like, oh yeah, I could totally do that. So I actually went in with the intention of focusing on skincare. And then I took the lash class while I was in school and I just fell in love. And from that class, I was solely focusing on lashes. So I got to practice lashes while I was in school for about 6 months, which was amazing. And then right after school, I decided that I wanted to open my business. And so I started right away. Branding, marketing, I actually started while I was in school. And I started lashing from home for a while. And it just grew really quickly, opened my studio space, and it's just gone really well for me.
Great. So one thing I wanted to touch on is how did you, because for those of you who haven't looked at Lane's Instagram, you absolutely should. And also her website. Check out her website. The link's there in her bio of her Instagram. Lane, really quick, give everybody your Instagram.
It is ohsoboho.esti, E-S-T-I.
Check it out. But one thing I love is that when you're going from your Instagram to your website, it's very cohesive. You know that you're in the same place. It's not like you hit your Instagram profile and then you click on the link and you're taken to a whole new world. You know, it's really cohesive and I love that. Talk to me a little bit about how you developed that look and feel and that identity.
So I actually started my website while I was in school. I did that even before I had an Instagram, which seems kind of backwards, but I was just really excited to start my website. And I started initially by going on Pinterest and finding just inspiration of things that I liked. And I kind of developed a color palette. And granted, that color palette has changed a couple times over the years, but I developed a color palette that I liked, started designing my website. And then when I began my Instagram, like you said, I wanted it to have a cohesive feel because Instagram to me is just like a second website. Some people never even go to your website. So I wanted it to look just as professional, just as put together, and just as branded as my Instagram. And so one of the ways I did that was carrying through that color palette. For me, it's black, kind of like rustic, orange tones, a lot of green. And so one of the ways I did that was by having a photo shoot. And I wore an outfit that complemented that color palette. We did it in an area that complemented that color palette. And I actually used pictures from that photo shoot on my website and my profile. Reason being is that I think it's really important to have your face on your website so that people get to know you, and also to have your face on your Instagram so that people get to know you. And when they're going back and forth from your Instagram to your website, not only are the color schemes the same, but they see your face. And so they're automatically linked because they're like, oh, it's the same artist. Another way that I brought that color palette into my Instagram is the way that I edit my photos. And I didn't do this in the very beginning. But a couple months in, I looked at my Instagram and I just felt like it didn't go together as well as my website did. It looked a little mixed up. There were different colors, there were different tones, and rightfully so, right? Because every client's eye color is different, every client's skin color is different, things like that. And so a little hack that I kind of developed over time was the way I edit my pictures. I actually boost those orange and red warm tones in every single picture I post, and I tone down the blue purple tones in every picture, and that just naturally kind of adds my color palette into the Lash pictures. And I feel like it gives a really cohesive look that combines my website, my actual content pictures, and my Instagram.
So a couple of thoughts and questions to follow up with that. Do you use a preset filter? Because I know that there are so many picture editing apps out there. So a couple of questions with that. Number one, what editing app do you use? And number two, do you use a preset filter or do you adjust things on your own? And how did you figure that out?
So I use an app called Lightroom. It's pretty much the only app that I use to edit. Sometimes I'll use the settings on my actual iPhone, but I just don't think that they're as precise. So I use Lightroom and I actually don't use any presets. The main reason is because I notice it edits the color of the lash extensions themselves, and I want to keep those looking nice and pure and black. So I take my photos just under a neutral white light, and then I go into Lightroom and I go to like the saturation setting. You can find the individual colors, and I bump up some of those warm tones, bump down some of the cool tones. I'll edit things like shadows, whatnot. But I've just found that presets can add a tint to the extensions themselves, and it just didn't look natural.
And okay, and then a quick question. Is Lightroom, as far as I'm aware, I believe Lightroom for the iPhone is actually a free app, or did you pay to do an upgrade? Or
it is totally free, which is like another amazing thing. 100% free. And one of the ways that I learned to use it, it's super popular. So you can just do a quick Google search and there are hundreds of videos of people showing you how to use it. It's a lot at first if you just open the app and you're like, what are all these settings? But there are so many tutorials. They do a quick little walkthrough. It's really user friendly once you figure out what all the settings are.
And for those actually who prefer to edit their pictures on a computer, as a side note, you can actually have Lightroom on your computer as well. There's a bunch of Adobe suite of programs. The Lightroom for your computer is not free, but if you prefer to edit things on your computer, just know that you can actually tie things between your computer and your phone if you really get into Lightroom and you really like the options available and you want to have that option to edit them on a computer. I just know some people sit there, and a lot of people will do all of their edits on a phone. But sometimes I'll admit, like for me, when I'm editing pictures and things like that, I like to do it on my computer just because it's a bigger surface area. So I can mess with it a little bit more, and I have a bigger screen to work on. But that's great. So now, did you just find Lightroom, or was it recommended? Did you try other apps first before you switched to Lightroom?
I actually had Lightroom on my phone since I was like, I want to say 16, and I was posting on Instagram. I totally used a bunch of preset filters back then. And when I started editing pictures, I really had no clue what I was doing. I knew that I had this app and I knew that it worked for some pictures. So I kind of just got lucky. It was already on my phone, and I've tried a couple others since then. And I keep finding myself going back to it. It really has like everything that I need on it.
That's awesome. Because I know there's lots of people that like Facetune. I mean, there's millions of apps, and Lightroom might not necessarily be like the one for somebody else, but it's more about finding an app that can make your pictures have that cohesive look and feel. Because I love what you said, because every single one of your clients' skin tones are going to be slightly different. Some are going to have more yellows. Some are going to have more of a cool undertone. And even if the lighting is slightly different just by the time of day, like if you have a window in your studio or something like that, it can change the overall look and feel of the picture. And I love how you've created that cohesive look and feel by just kind of figuring out how to bump up certain colors and certain undertones and things like that, and then have that cohesive look. And another thing you were talking about that I wanted to touch on really quickly is having your face on your website and your social media feed. That is so important because one of the things I feel like social media does is it is creating like a perceived relationship. When you're laying down there getting your lashes done, your eyes are literally taped shut, and it can be somewhat intimidating. You know, you don't know what this person is doing. You really hope they're not gluing your eyes together or getting glue in your hair or, you know, all the other millions of horror stories we've heard about. But you really have to have a lot of faith and trust in that person. And if you can on social media, if you can take and really put yourself out there, put yourself in pictures, doing reels, doing stories, and talking to people and letting some of your personality come through or all of your personality come through, people will feel like they know you when they come in. And that's another thing I think you do so amazing with, Lane, not just your pictures and your cohesive look and feel and your branding and that look, but is also with reels. So tell me, like, how did you feel that first time you made a reel?
I felt like the most awkward human in the whole entire world. And I remember so specifically the first reel I ever filmed. I felt ridiculous. I was filming it in my room. My roommate walked past me and she was like, "Lane, what are you doing?" I'm like, "I don't know. People do this now. I feel like I should do this. I don't know if there's going to be any benefits to it. Am I going to regret posting this?" Like, it was just a really embarrassing thing for me. I was always that person who was like, if you ever catch me posting a TikTok or a reel, like, call me out on it. It will never be me. And then here I am doing it for my job. But it does get fun. It really does get fun. I have so much fun filming my reels, posting my reels, interacting with people underneath the reels. And I think that fun started to happen once I realized that people were responding really well to seeing my personality. And I would have, you know, existing clients come in and be like, "Oh, I saw your reel. It was so funny. I totally understood this joke." And then we would start joking. We would start talking. It was a means for connection with my current clients. And it was a means for connection with clients that came to me because of the reels that I posted. So once I realized how much benefit it has, I've honestly stopped caring about embarrassing myself. The pros so far outweigh the cons for me that it's just a no-brainer anymore.
So do you utilize TikTok as well? Okay, because you just talked about how you have new clients that saw your reels and came in. So I guess this should be a couple of part question. Do you feel like your engagement, your follows, because that's what everybody talks about when you talk about Instagram, it's like, how many people are following you? What's your engagement like? Do you feel like that increased when you started posting reels?
1000%. I mean, my reels, for the most part, get way more engagement than the actual photos of lashes that I post, or even the photos of myself that I post sometimes. They get way more engagement. Reason being is that I know Instagram really, really pushes reels. Absolutely. And the reason for that is because it keeps you on the app longer. You spend more time, more often than not, watching and engaging with a reel than you do with a post. And it's also just more entertaining for your clients to watch than just another old lash picture. So my engagement definitely boosted. And of course, engagement doesn't necessarily correlate to clients. You want to make sure that you're also prioritizing engaging with people that can actually come to you, because the man in India that's liking your reel is not going to come get lashes from you in Loveland, Colorado, you know? But if you're using proper hashtags, if you're tagging your location, if you feel like boosting your posts, you can boost them to a specific audience. The more engagement you have on your profile in general, the more Instagram is going to suggest your page to people in your area or people that follow accounts similar to yours.
Absolutely. And I love that you mentioned the Instagram algorithm. You know, that's kind of like the little thing that everybody's talking about, that buzzword is the algorithm. And Instagram actually came out flat out and said, we are pushing more videos on our application. So the more videos that you post, the more reels that you post, things like that, the more your account is going to be suggested. And like you mentioned, the more engagement you're going to have and things like that. So unfortunately, I know a lot of people are upset about that. The Instagram's really pushing more of the video content because they felt like, That's what TikTok's already there for, but they are. So as you mentioned, your reels get a lot more views, interaction, things like that, than just the Lash pictures and pictures of yourself. That doesn't mean you can't do the posts, but it definitely means that reels need to become part of the norm of your posting. So I love that you have already done that. And and you just have to do it initially. And then once you start doing it, I think it becomes more second nature.
100%. And I know in the beginning, the algorithm was a very daunting topic for me to even think about. In the beginning, I was like, you know what, I don't even care. I'm going to post what I want when I want, which I still do, but there are ways to use it to your advantage if you can learn. And it's really, really simple to learn because so many people put out content about it. Actually, one of the main ways I learned about the Instagram algorithm was from Reels. There's a million different accounts out there that their whole account is dedicated to teaching you the Instagram algorithm through their reels because they're easily digestible, right? YouTube videos can teach it really simple things like hashtags, posting at a certain time, making your video a certain length, using certain transitions or certain features that Instagram offers are going to boost your engagement so much. And now it's just second nature. I mean, it takes no time at all to learn, and it really will benefit everyone in the long run.
Absolutely. I love that. Because it does. A little bit of research can really go a long way into playing that social media game. And because that has become a necessary evil for anyone in the beauty industry, I feel like if you don't have social media, then you are not building your clientele. And so it is necessary. Fortunately, unfortunately, for those that like social media, for those that don't, but it is a necessary tool. So I really love that. And going back to the branding, you also have a logo and even a white mark that you use on your pictures. Talk a little bit about how you developed that.
Yeah, so the watermark, I post on some of my pictures. I don't post on other ones. I can't decide if I want to keep it or not. It goes back and forth, but I do feel like it makes your photo stand out. And when someone sees your photo, they automatically associate it with the last photo that they saw with that watermark, So I use that every now and then, and I developed it just on Canva. It's an app. It's mostly free. You get plenty of features with the free version. I've never paid for it. And I just do that myself. I try and keep the watermark the same through all the pictures because, again, it ties all the pictures together in your client's brain. And then my logo, I actually have a good family friend who is an artist, and she helped me develop that. So I feel very, very grateful for that. But I have tweaked that logo many times. The one that I started with is not similar to the one I have now, and I think that that's totally okay. I was afraid of kind of changing my branding, but it's really benefited me, and I'm glad that I did it. And the way that I kind of found some inspiration for that was, again, on Pinterest. I just searched beauty logos, hairstylist logos, esthetician logos, because I knew I wanted it to be unique. I knew I wanted it to be something that my clients would remember, because, you can see logos for a ton of different businesses and they all kind of look the same. I wanted something that was unique. So I settled on a little cartoon caricature. That's a good word, of me. And that way, when someone sees my logo, they automatically see my face. And I brought my color palette into that, the greens and the blacks. And so it just automatically, when they see that logo, it sticks in their brain. They've already kind of seen my face because it's a cartoon version of me, and they've gotten a vibe for my business before they see anything else.
And one thing I also I love that you talked about how you looked all over Pinterest and you looked at a bunch of different logos. As I have helped other people develop logos, one of the things I tell them to do is to literally just go out and comb logos of different companies and see what you like and what you don't like. But then once you figure out, I like these and I don't like these, look at them and figure out why you like them and why you don't like them. Because then no matter what, if you use, there's so many places to develop a logo. There's so many people that develop logos. There's websites that develop logos. If you have a friend who does artwork, things like that. But if okay, I like a font, a very clean font, or I like a script font, or I like this kind of an image in the background, or I don't like images in the background, and I like this color and I don't like this color. Really going back to that Pinterest idea, I love that, to help you have a cohesive feed, website. For logo, it's kind of your drawing board, so to speak, where you can collect things that you like, to help you really pinpoint the direction you want to take things, because it is so important to have that presence online, to have that unique identifier for your logo, to have that look and feel so that people know immediately. And so I love that. Now going back to that, even, you mentioned that you started on your website while you were still in school. Talk a little bit about that process of developing a website and what tool you used.
Yes, so I did start it when I was in school. I'm pretty sure I actually started it the first week of school, maybe the second week, when I still thought I wanted to do skincare, just because it sounded fun to me. Little did I know that it was going to be a whole venture in and of itself. I've spent countless hours on it, but I did start it when I was in school, and I use the app or the website Wix, which I know you don't super love Wix. It's not necessarily
That's okay.
user-friendly.
Yeah,
I know that it's not the most user-friendly because there are so many options of what you can do with it. But I think that's what I really liked about it, is that I'm a little of a perfectionist, I'll admit it. And I loved that I could edit every single little detail of that website. And yeah, it did take a lot of time, and I still am continually editing it multiple times a week. I'll hop on, add some things, take away some things, but it really allows you to create a whole experience and a whole feeling and a whole vibe on your website. And it allows it to be something that's different than other websites. It stands out when you're able to customize it that much. And so that's why I really love it.
Well, and going to that, there are so many different tools. I think people sometimes hear website, and Lane, you are one of like those unique individuals where you're like, okay, come on, bring it on. Let's go. Let's take this. But I think for a lot of people, they hear website and they think, I went to cosmetology school, or I went to an esthetician school. I'm not good at building websites. And I think it scares people, but there are so many options, because you really need to, if you are booth renting, if you're an individual artist working from your home, or working from like a studio space, or like a solo salons or something like that, you really need to have that presence. I feel like you need to be able to have your picture in front of them, have pictures of your work, and have an easy place for them to book appointments and to get more information about your pricing and the services you offer. I feel like it's a necessity. In today's world, it is a necessity. You have to have that. And there are so many tools. So you use Wix, and I would definitely say, if you are a beginner and you are nervous and you want like the easiest thing out there, I would not go the Wix route. If you are ready to take it on and you're pretty good with electronics and figuring things out, sure, do that. Or you can do a WordPress website. WordPress has a lot of flexibility as well. There are literally millions of templates out there that you can search and kind of have like a pre-made template that you can apply to a WordPress website, and then go in and customize it as much as you'd like with images, colors, fonts, everything. I will say, if you are a beginner and you just need to have a website up there, a lot of booking sites will also give you like a free mini website. Or if you need something super simplistic and you use Square for your booking, Square offers a free website. If you want to have a custom domain, it's like $6 a month. Otherwise, it's free. And it's so simple to use. It's literally like drag and drop, type in, click on a button, upload your pictures. It is so simple to use. So if you need something that's simple and easy to work with, and you don't feel like you're very technologically savvy, Square is a great option. Squarespace is also a great option. It has a lot of the same similar feel to it. It's drag and drop, easy to just type in the boxes, things like that. If you are feeling more adventurous, you can go the WordPress or the Wix route. So there are so many options out there. I would say more than anything, it's just do it.
Yes, I totally agree. And one of the nice things, specifically I know with Square, and I'm sure you can do this with other apps too, is that the effort you put into your Square booking site, if you do down the line choose to have your own website on Wix or any other app, you can link that Square booking site to your Wix website or your WordPress website, anything. So that work isn't wasted. And when I was booking clients online, I did the exact same thing. I had my Square website linked on my Wix website. And so that work that you put in now on that Square site is not going to waste. You can still use it. And that's just, it's magical. I was definitely doing that for myself when I was allowing clients to book online.
Absolutely. And Square is also one of those booking sites that you can add the book now button on Instagram and everything else. There are so many of those different types of booking sites. I would definitely say that's another key point, is having some way to allow clients to book online. If you want to grow, have that there. But here, this brings up another question. Some artists I've been talking to recently, they've been struggling. As clients can book themselves online, they've been struggling with cancellations and no-shows and those types of things. And I know this is something that people talk a lot about in the industry, but having like those policies in place. Out of curiosity, Lane, what do you do and how do you handle things like that?
Yeah, so I've gone back and forth. When I initially started out, I was doing all of my bookings by myself. People would DM me or text me, and that was working for a while. And then once I had more availability, I just wanted to try it out. So I created a Square booking site, linked it in my Instagram and on my website, like you were saying. And I will say that got me so many clients, because there's something about the ease of being able to be on Instagram at midnight, see a cute lash set, be like, I need that, I want it, I'm going to book it now, I'm going to do it myself. I don't have to talk to anyone. I get full control over the schedule. It's just easy for clients to do. And it really did get me a lot of clients. But when my schedule started to fill up, I found that it was becoming difficult to allow clients to book their own appointments. I would have gaps in the day, and there are ways to go around that. But just personally for me, I was kind of missing the control of being able to make my own schedule again. So once my books filled up a little bit, I actually took my booking site off of my Instagram, and I do all my bookings by hand now. It just works great for me now because I don't have a ton of openings and I can really pick and choose my schedule. But when I was looking to build a clientele, having the ability for my clients to just be able to do it themselves, I noticed made a big difference. But the downside to that was that I feel like clients, when they book an appointment themselves and they're not talking to you, they're also a lot more willing and likely to cancel that appointment, which I do have a 24-hour policy in place. I'm actually about to increase that to a 48-hour cancellation policy. But I just felt like clients were a lot more eager to book it just because they might want it and then cancel it when they decide that they don't want it. And that was also throwing a wrench into my schedule. But to avoid any problems with that, having a solid cancellation or reschedule policy in place will work wonders. Some people take deposits. Some people even take full payments for certain services. Like I know some artists require you to pay for a full set up front because they really can't risk losing that 3-hour slot. There are a lot of ways around it, but I did find that having clients or giving clients the opportunity to book themselves greatly increased my clientele. And in the beginning, it's definitely hard to enforce. I mean, I'm still not amazing at enforcing it. I just sometimes am a little too empathetic and I'm like, oh, I get it, don't worry about it. But if you feel like you're stuck in that phase of being unable to enforce your own boundaries because you feel bad, take a second, sit down and add up all the cancellations you've had in the last month and see how much money you missed out on by not having a client in those time slots. Because that's what I did. And immediately I was like, oh, shoot, I can't do this anymore. That's when I put my cancellation policy in place.
I love that. That is like seriously one of the best tips, because I think once everybody actually sees the numbers, say, oh, I've only had a couple of people cancel. But I think when you actually look back and you actually put the dollars with the number of cancellations, I think that number would blow most artists' minds. And it would be a really good slap of reality in the face that you have to have those policies in place.
That's exactly what it was. It was a slap of reality. And the reality of it is that it's not easy to book a client with 24 hours notice anyways. I mean, we always say, give us 24 hours notice so that we can get someone to fill your spot. That rarely happens for me. Most people can't come in for a 3-hour appointment last minute. It does sometimes, but being able to make money anyways is just really nice. And then cancellations, when you have a policy in place and you're still making money, they're kind of fun sometimes because you're like, oh, I actually get a lunch break today and I got paid. This is amazing, instead of sitting with the regret of, I'm sitting here doing nothing, not making money. This is awful. It's a win-win all around.
A paid lunch break. Great way to look at that.
Exactly. And it also filters out clients who aren't serious about booking their appointment. As soon as I put that policy in place, and there was even a short time period when I was doing the Square booking site where I required a deposit, I had significantly less cancellations because people weren't booking the appointment if they weren't 100% sure that they wanted or could make it to that appointment.
And I think you don't have to have a huge deposit. It can be something as simple as like $10 or $20 deposit, because it is amazing. If somebody puts down even like $10 or $20, they are so much more likely to show up.
Absolutely. And it also covers the cost of if you've already started setting up for that appointment and they cancel a couple minutes before. That was one of the things that always irked me, is I've wasted supplies. If you cancel a couple minutes before your appointment, those supplies are paid for. So it's a win-win. I know personally, if I'm going to make an appointment that I'm not totally sure about and they ask for a card number, it makes me think like, can I do this? Is it a good date? Do I actually need this? And sometimes the answer is no, but it's a good thing to weed out those clients. You don't want every single client.
Absolutely. Now, in that vein of talking about the clients you want, how do you, like, what is a tip that you would give other people about attracting the kind of clients that want the kind of lash sets that you are most comfortable providing and want to do on your clients?
So there's a few different ways that I do this. When people say, figure out what your ideal clientele is, that means two things to me. One, it means personality-wise, what's your ideal clientele? But like you said, stylistically, what's your ideal clientele? I find for me, I love doing really wispy hybrid lashes or very full volume lashes, and I prioritize posting those. Or I really love doing colored lashes as well. I prioritize posting that content on my Instagram so that when someone goes to my Instagram, they see those lashes. And if that's not necessarily the style they're looking for, they might go find someone else, which is totally okay. Because if you don't enjoy doing a lash style, you might want to consider either not offering it or not making it as available for people to see, because you enjoy your work so much more. And I had to kind of come to terms with the fact that not every client is the perfect fit for me, and I'm not the perfect fit for every client. And once I really started focusing on the lash sets that I like to do, 99.9% of the time I'll have clients come in and they'll show me a photo that I've posted, and I posted it because I loved doing it. It's fun and I would do it again. And then I get to do more work that I enjoy.
I love that, because I think so often, so many lash artists kind of fall into that pitfall of, oh, this set was good though, so I should post it. And I love that you really pick and choose the sets that you like to do and the sets that were fun for you, because we spend too much of our lives working and doing our job not to enjoy it artistically and, skill wise and those types of things. So I love that you try and prioritize the sets that you really enjoy doing as your post, because obviously, if people are stalking you on Instagram and are booking because they've seen your work, that's the work they've seen. And that's the kind of lash line that they know they're going to get. And that's what they're attracted to when they come to you. So I love that. So talking about social media, what other tips would you suggest for posting and attracting customers, the right customers, and those kinds of things to someone who is, either an existing artist or someone who's in school or anything? Like, how do you think about the posts? Like, what do you do? What is your target when you're posting?
So the first thing that I did, which I know people have probably heard this over and over and over, is that I targeted what my ideal clientele was. Now, if you were to ask me what that was, I couldn't explain it because it's more of like a feeling of the kind of environment that I want my studio to have. And so I really struggled with that concept for a while because I was like, well, how can I pinpoint an ideal clientele if I don't know how to describe it on paper? And over time, as I've started posting, I've really been able to realize that I want to attract clients that I can personally connect with and that can connect with me, and that we can have an experience that goes beyond just lash extensions. And the way that I realized that was once I started posting reels and stories of me talking and communicating with my audience. Once I started posting funny reels of me, funny stories of me, showing my personality on social media, the people that felt connected to my personality, the people that felt like they could relate to my personality, naturally flocked to my page. And I've had so many clients tell me, oh, I saw your page and I loved your vibe and your work was gorgeous. The comments on like my personality and the vibe of my business always, always, always come before people talk about my work. And for me, that's a win because I want to curate a very specific environment in my salon where everyone feels like they can connect with me on some level, whether they want to have a super deep conversation or they want to be able to just laugh. Some people want to nap, and that's great too, but just feeling connected to your artist before you even book an appointment, it has done wonders for me. I love the clients that I've attracted through my social media. I mean, Instagram clients are my favorite clients. They're amazing. I can always connect with them so deeply, and it's just a great time, and it makes work more enjoyable. And it also provides something to your client that they're not going to get from other lash artists. It provides a very unique point of connection and point of friendship even to that client. So they're walking out the door with more than just lashes. They're walking out the door with a friend or a good conversation, you know.
I know that because we've had previous conversations about this, but you have a theory and have talked about what percentage of your posts should be entertaining and why people are on the algorithm. Or on the application. Talk about a little bit about that.
Yeah. So I've had this kind of like thought for a while, but I couldn't exactly figure out how to phrase it. And then I was listening to a podcast maybe a few weeks or a couple months ago, and it wasn't even like a social media podcast. They were just talking about social media. And someone said that most people's goal when they open Instagram is not to be sold to, it's to be entertained. I mean, every now and then, yes, we go on social media looking for a specific service or product, but that is not the majority, I would say. The majority of time, what we're doing on social media is we want to go in to this app and zone out. We want to scroll, we want to laugh, we want to be entertained. And I used to always struggle with, well, what do I post? How do I frame this content in a way that people are going to care about it? Because I can only post so many lash pictures before people are like, okay, yeah, Lane, I get it. I don't want lashes right now. I'm not going to engage. I'm going to scroll right past it. And he said, if you can entertain your audience and then sell while you're doing that, you've kind of hit the jackpot. So before, when I started posting reels, I used to prioritize my lash content or the lash pictures or the marketing pictures over the reels. And I've actually totally switched that now. I prioritize entertaining my clients or my audience over selling myself. So a couple ways that I do this is, obviously the most obvious one is posting funny reels. They're entertaining. People are going to stay. They're going to watch your video. And if people are laughing, they're more likely to like your video, right? The other way that I do this is if I do want to post something educational, say it's a video like why to keep heat away from your lash extensions or how to cleanse your lash extensions or anything like that, that I really want my clients to see and I want my audience to see, but it could be kind of a boring topic. I make it an interesting reel. I either use really cool transitions. I use pop-up text to keep their engagement or to keep them entertained, or I will use like really cool visuals. Like in one of my reels, I was using a blow dryer on lash extensions and it performed really well because it was very visually engaging to my client. But I also was able to meet my goal of educating them. And so if anything that you post can be a little bit more entertaining, do it. So even with my lash pictures, I will make sure that I take my time to edit them and in a way that they're very aesthetic. You know, I'm not saying to like change the lashes. I'm saying to change the lighting, change the color contrast. You know, there's whole apps like Tumblr and Pinterest dedicated to aesthetic pictures. If you can post a picture of a product that you're trying to sell and make it so aesthetic that people can't help but like it, you've cracked the code.
I love that. I know we've talked about this before too, and I just want to touch on it before we wrap things up here. But you have an amazing trick. You know, we talked about Lightroom, we talked about how you edit your pictures, but you have a trick that I think is huge, that you use when you are taking lash pictures. You don't just take a picture, you actually do it through a video. Talk a little bit about that before we wrap up here so people can hear that and hear what you do, because I think it is just genius.
Yeah, so I actually figured this out on accident, and I remember exactly which lash set I figured it out on because I spent probably 10 or 15 minutes taking pictures of the set. I was so happy with it, and all those pictures turned out awful. They were miserable. Luckily, I had taken one video. I like to take videos so that I can look back and be like, how do these lashes fit her face and whatnot? But I was looking at that video and I was like, oh, if I screenshotted that frame, that would be a gorgeous picture. And so I did that, and that screenshot turned out better than any lash picture I had taken ever before. And I know with iPhones, the video quality is insane compared to the camera quality in a lot of lightings. So now I either use the video, just the normal video mode, or I use cinematic mode, and I just press record and I move in all different angles. I focus on all different parts of the eye. It keeps me from being kind of like one track minded. It gives me all the different angles to choose from. And also then you've got like videos and pictures to pick from. But I just think it just works so much better for me. It takes the pressure off of taking pictures. It takes the pressure off of me having like a super steady hand. I'm in the perfect place, gotta press the picture button now. My pictures are just 10 times better since I've started doing this, so much so that I actually don't even take normal pictures anymore. I take videos of all my clients.
I love that so much. I'm not kidding. I even suggested it to my hair artist because she was struggling with pictures. I'm like, well, you know what? You should try taking a video. And she loved it too.
I'm so glad. And like literally it happened on accident. Like, I'm not kidding you. I was like, oh, this is awesome. This is so fun. So I genuinely can't take any credit for it. It was a happy accident.
Take credit for it. It's an amazing tip. Well, just to wrap things up, Lane, thank you so much for being with us today. Is there anything else that you would love to share? Any tips, tricks, anything before we wrap things up?
I don't think so. I think just the main thing that I would have really loved to hear when I was starting out is that doing something is really better than doing nothing at all. Instagram was very intimidating to me, so much so that I literally built a whole website before I started it. But I'm glad that I forced myself to start when I did. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't exactly what I wanted, but you're not going to learn how to grow the page you want until you start. And more often than not, clients aren't noticing the things that you're nitpicking yourself. So just start. You'll learn, you'll grow. It's inevitable, but you can't learn and grow if you don't start.
That is like the perfect thing to end on. Thank you so much, Lane, for being with us. Thank you, everyone, for listening. And please make sure that you are subscribing and listening to our podcast so that we can bring you even more information to help you grow your business. Thanks, everyone.